Welcome to the Immigration Lawyers Podcast, a part of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox, an education and marketing publication for the immigration law community that includes legal updates, interviews, discussions, education and CLE material, and more. Note that the information here is for general education only and not intended as individual legal advice. The laws change frequently, so you should consult with an attorney about your specific case. For more information, please visit immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the podcast. We have a great guest today, Claribel Maduena. What's the P stand for in Claribel?
It's Palacios. It's my maiden name.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Claribel Palacios Maduena. And
yes.
She's a colleague in Northern California. We just did a CLE session for the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox, going over an introduction to removal defense. And she's the best person to do it because she's a literal expert at it, having the certified immigrant. What is it called? Specialized? What is it, the title for?
It's a certified specialist in immigration and nationality law.
Everyone, especially California lawyers, know how much work it is to get that. I think it impresses the lawyers more than it does even the clients because you really actually know how much of a hassle it is to go.
I agree.
Well, thank you for joining us. So if you haven't already, check out, go to immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. You catch the link for the CLE session that goes to removal defense. It's great for people that are starting out, and even for people who have been doing it. I think there's a lot of points in there that are interesting. And on the YouTube page, you have a lot of clips of like 2 or 3 clips from the session that are really good. But Claribel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, John. I had such a great time on the prior, talking about removal defense. So it was a lot of fun, and I'm happy to be here again. And thanks for the kind introduction.
You got it. So let's get started. Where did you grow up, Claribel?
So that is sort of a tricky question. My dad was an electrician in the military, in the Navy, part of this unit called Seabees, and they're a construction unit. He was never on ships. So I moved around a lot. I was actually born in Oakland, and we lived up in the Bay Area for a few years. Then we moved to Japan, and I lived there for 3 years. I was little, and then after Japan, we returned to Southern California, where we lived for a few years. And then when I was 12, we moved to Hawaii, and I lived there for 4 years, from 12 years old to 16 years old. So very formative years for me. And when I turned 16, we moved to Rome, Italy. And that's where I lived for 2 years, 16 to 18. I graduated high school out there. I went to an international school with international students from all over the world, Italians, Israelis, Africans. It was actually a really cool experience. And then I came back to California to go to UC San Diego for the university.
Wow, I didn't know that about you. You moved around. That's it's interesting to do. At the same time, it's probably a lot of pressure and stress being that age and having to switch up school.
Yeah, it's difficult because you don't keep friendships that long, and you kind of develop this chameleon type of personality, adapting. But at the same time, it made me grow so much as a person. And so I also feel like I can relate to lots of different types of people just because of my upbringing.
I had a similar situation. As much stress as it was, now that I'm an adult, I see it paid off, but it's as a kid.
Yes.
It's stressful.
Yeah, it's tough getting used to a new place and making new friends, and it's not easy. So a lot of the times I think that makes us kind of more empathetic towards our clients, right? Because they're having to acclimate to completely new culture, tradition, and people. So that's the advantage now.
You were a non-immigrant, essentially. You got a non-immigrant visa in Italy, so you've been through a different version of that immigration.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Awesome. So what got you into immigration law?
So it was after my second year of law school, I law clerked at a small immigration law firm in LA, Alhambra specifically. And I liked the work that I did. I actually felt like I made an impact. I wrote a motion to reopen to the Board of Immigration Appeals, a sua sponte motion, and it was actually granted, and it prevented one of their clients from getting deported. So that really kind of ignited this feeling in me where I wanted to make more of an impact as an attorney, period. But I didn't know that I would continue with immigration law. And then once we graduated in 2009, as you know, we were in a recession. So I always kind of thought I would do family law, but I ended up getting a job offer after I passed the bar at this small immigration law firm in Koreatown. And I worked there for about 3.5 years doing immigration law for a solo practitioner. And, fast forward years today, I'm still practicing immigration law.
And for those who don't know, Claribel and I were in the same graduating class at Loyola Law School. So we hit the market in 2009 when it was like a horrible year.
It was horrible. Yeah, absolutely. So I felt lucky to even get a job, and I was able to get that position because of my experience as a law clerk the summer before.
So then tell us about the transition from working there, what kind of work you did there, to your own practice, and what kind of cases you handle now.
Absolutely. So I worked for a solo practitioner, for 3.5 years, as I mentioned earlier, and he focused on removal defense. The bulk of my cases was removal, and he was very much not a hand holder, kind of, these are the basics, and you either sink or swim. So a lot of the time, I just kind of had to dive in, and I learned a lot of lessons along the way. I've been yelled at by judges. It's things that you just kind of have to figure out, but at the same time, those lessons are so ingrained in my brain and how I practice. So I'm really grateful for that. But mostly removal defense, family-based immigration, consular processing, adjustments, that type of thing.
And what kind of firms? You're a solo on your own now, though you started your own.
That's correct. Yeah, I'm a solo on my own, and I have a paralegal and a legal assistant. Mm-hmm. So it's, and I'm handling the same type of cases, reducing the removal litigation cases that I'm doing right now, but, family-based immigration, doing the straightforward adjustments, consular processing, and waivers. I do a lot of waivers.
That's good. That's a lot of work there, Shad. That's what I'm doing. So, the gold stores, I always give people your number. I'm like, call Claribel.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work, but I do enjoy them. It's kind of like a puzzle to solve, or I'm given this problem, and over the years, I've been able to learn how to develop kind of a method of how I do things, and so I can present case to immigration. And so far, I've had a really high success rate with my provisional waivers, and for that I'm grateful. But it definitely requires a lot of time, a lot of dedication, and really a lot of time with your clients. Not so much putting the regular legal stuff, the arguments we have to make, but spending that time with your clients to really figure out what we can present and what is an extreme hardship factor that hasn't necessarily been talked about or seen before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's real advocacy that goes on there. Now,
yes.
You have practiced in the immigration court in Los Angeles and in San Francisco. Do you have any differences in there, or is it really judge by judge?
It is judge by judge, but it's also the culture of the office. And I don't know if this is a function of when I started as a green attorney, I didn't have much experience. So I felt that dealing with the government attorneys, the TAs, the trial attorneys, there was a little bit more hostility, or there were more attorneys that just weren't willing to give up enough for my clients or give in a little bit. In San Francisco, I've felt that the culture is a little bit more responsive and progressive. And it's not always true, right? In either place, there are the attorneys that are difficult to work with, and then the ones that really want to reach an agreement with you. And the judges, it also runs the gamut in terms of where they lean or how they decide cases.
Mm-hmm. And what have you seen? We all know the changes, but under the Trump administration, like in the courts that you've dealt with, especially primarily San Francisco, how impactful were the changes to your caseload once the Attorney General changed and all that stuff happened?
It changed so much. For instance, we could no longer do prosecutorial discretion, like closing a case where, let's say my client has a cancellation of removal pending, but the exceptional and extremely unusual hardship was not really there, but the government was willing to close these cases out and leave your client alone. Your client wouldn't have legal status technically, but they would be here with a work permit and they could renew it every year as long as the case essentially remained asleep, right? That is no longer there. We can no longer ask for administrative closure for clients who want to seek provisional waivers with USCIS, because that hardship level is much lower. The bar to win a provisional waiver is much lower than a cancellation case. So before, judges would administratively close your removal case so that you can go ahead and file a provisional waiver for your client, because as some of you may be aware, you cannot file a provisional waiver if there's an open immigration court case against your client.
Yeah, that aspect where you can't, they don't let you wait it out for an I-130 to get approved, or let you wait it out to file a 601A. That was just so nasty that change that happened, because they made systems to fix these for people, but they just, kick the legs underneath them and to not let that happen.
Absolutely. And I've also noticed a trend in judges, right? Under this new administration, the judges that they're appointing, many of them don't have necessarily the immigration experience necessary. I actually just had a case where we had a cancellation of removal hearing, and a new judge appointed by the Trump administration, and he pre-terminated my client's cancellation application. But he looked at, for cancellation, you have to prove good moral character 10 years prior to the date you're presenting the case. I had my case October 2018, so we're looking at October 2008 to October 2018 to prove good moral character. The judge looked at convictions beyond that time period to say, and these are DUI convictions, to say that my client was a habitual drunkard. So he pre-terminated that application, and we couldn't even really present the equities in the case. And so I just recently had to submit a brief to the BIA, and I got a call from the government attorney, a trial attorney, who I talked to him on Monday, and he's like, "Hey, counsel, I'm reading the court transcript, and this looks really problematic." And I said, "Yeah, no kidding." And he's like, "I'm going to file a motion to remand. I think your client needs a new trial." And I'm like, "Great, yes, let's do it." So that just happened this week. And that's what I mean when there are still excellent TAs out there that really want to do their job. And the function of a prosecutor is to do justice. And when you see it happen, like the system, the way it should work, it's a beautiful thing. And it's very rare nowadays.
I always think, like, would you ever want to be an immigration judge yourself?
I've thought about that, to be honest with you. I've considered it, and I'm going to say 80% yes. Wow. But the way things are right now, it just, the thought of ordering a removal on someone, it's very difficult to digest. And I think the only way I would truly consider it is if there were some changes in terms of policy, because right now the immigration judges are under so much pressure, and they can't be the neutral arbiters that they're supposed to be, because they're employed by the Department of Justice, which controls the immigration court. So they have all these quotas they have to meet, and so it's really kind of impossible for them to fully and fairly do their jobs.
Yeah, we see the Immigration Judges Union talking out about everything that's happening to them. It's pretty horrible. But yeah, to be a good immigration judge, you have to really understand immigration law. So that takes years. So ideally,
Yes.
It's a person like you, but it's such a stressful job, and the responsibility, the burden is very, very heavy on a person, because you're making life and death decisions.
I agree. I agree completely.
That's what's crazy. So what is it what is that you like the most about being an immigration attorney in the immigration practice?
So I really enjoy working with my clients, and another attorney, I can't remember who it was or when they said it to me, but it stuck in my mind. And the advice was this: think about what type of law you practice. Who are the people that you want to be around and do business with, right? So for a criminal attorney, and this is not to disparage any profession, right? If I wasn't an immigration attorney, I would probably be a public defender. But they're like, think about the people that you have to interact with on a daily basis. And for me, my family, my parents are immigrants. My mom is from Nicaragua. My dad is from El Salvador. And so they came as teenagers. And so when I see, and I'm talking to my clients, I see a lot of my family in them. And it's just, I can relate to them in some way, not 100%, right? Because I was born here and that type of thing. But to me, they're just truly hardworking people, and they really just want to be safe, and they want to, build a better future for their children. And that I love.
Mm-hmm. Well, now let's take the other way. What do you dislike the most?
Difficult clients. It's a double-edged sword, right? When you're providing a service to people, sometimes, there are those really needy clients, or the clients who want to explain your job to you. So that's one aspect that, it's the nature of the beast. But what I really is disheartening about my job is the constant policy changes and how it really negatively affects certain cases. Losing a case is never easy for me in court, so that part I do not like.
I think I've seen this a lot with people who've been doing removal defense specialists for a long time, but they kind of start detaching themselves from it because, it's difficult. Most people are not going to win this. So, how much do you detach it, or how much do you have to shut off your mind to it to be able to relax on a weekend?
I don't really relax, especially if I have a hearing coming up. I pour all my energies into it, but I'm also very careful, right? At the same time, I make time for myself, for the things that I enjoy, exercising. I'm very into plants. I love plants. And reading. So there is that balance. But what I like to tell myself is, do everything that you can, whatever is in your power. The facts are the facts, right? Some of my clients, they're not angels. People are not perfect. So I do what I can with what I have. I put my best effort forward. And then, from then on, it's just kind of like, okay, I did everything I could, and that's it.
Because one of the things for me to go to court is I know I'll be so nervous getting prepared for it, and removal defense, you have to be in court a lot. I'm like, it's going to be too anxiety provoking for me. That's why I like doing video, record, I lay back. That's more to me. But how was it when you first went to court? How did you deal with that? When I was doing full court the first couple of times, I was super nervous. I was stuttering and stuff. How did it work? You just got used to it over time, or tell me more about that experience?
Yeah, so definitely a nervous wreck before court, very anxious, can't sleep the night before, getting up every hour after 3 a.m. so I don't miss, the alarm. And for me, the most helpful thing has been experience and knowledge, right? Like really studying up on the law, really knowing my facts well when I go there, and having answers for the judge. So just having that ability to advocate and knowing what's required helps my anxiety. I still get nervous, especially when it's a big case, and it could go either way, right? Because it depends on the judge, it depends on the government attorney that you get. So I still get really nervous, but I remember a professor from Loyola, Professor Sean Kennedy, the public defender down there, he said, it's good to get nervous because that means you care. So it's that level of adrenaline to perform at your best, right? So prepare, meditate, right? And exert your energies. Like I said, exercise helps me to be able to kind of zero in on that anxiety and channel it into something else.
Now, that experience that you get comes from doing it and studying over years. And one way you learn is they kind of threw you into the stadium, and it's kind of like threw you to the Tigers to learn. So many firms from big and small have that as their method, where they just send out the associates and have them learn on the spot. Not to disparage what the old firm did, and I know the gentleman's a great guy, but would you do that as well if you're going to train a new associate? Because that is the common thing. I mean, most people who are listening to this, everyone gets just thrown in there and they learn it. But is that a good way to do it?
That's an excellent question. A part of like my lizard brain is like, yes, haze them just like you were hazed, right? It's that I think that it really depends on, you know, who the attorney is that you're sending in. So you want to set up your associates for success, right? And if you know someone needs a little bit more help or a little bit more guidance, then I think that you should be able to provide that. At the same time, our profession is just that. It is high stakes. It is nerve-wracking. Your adrenaline is pumping through your body. So it does feel kind of, like you say, being thrown into the arena is really the only way to truly grasp these lessons. Because once you've been yelled at a judge in front of other lawyers about a particular issue, I promise you that you'll never repeat that mistake again.
So what is one of the most memorable moments you've had as an immigration attorney?
There are a few. You know, I'm kind of a clumsy person. I had a bond hearing it was in somewhere down south in East San Diego somewhere. I can't think of the court. I actually think it's closed now. And I was entering the galley and I tripped and all of my papers flung everywhere. And the government attorney was like helping me collect myself. I'm already nervous. So that's happened to me before. That has been very memorable. And and then there are the really great judges. I love Judge Tabador, but I wasn't prepared on one issue once as a baby attorney. And I never forgot to be prepared about that particular issue, right? But, she's an amazing judge. She's very smart. And, she doesn't humiliate you. It's just more on the spot learning. This is what you should be looking for. And of course, the memorable moments are always winning a case, right? Winning bond for a client or winning a cancellation or an asylum case when you can tell your client who came over here fearing death and persecution or rape that they're safe. That to me, it's the best feeling ever. It makes all the sleepless nights, the anxiety, the night sweats, and all of that worth it.
Speaking of Judge Salvador, I've never had a case in front of her, and I've met her at a lot of, I've been on a panel with her and at events for special lawyers kind of stuff. And we met on a civilian basis, but from what I hear, she's very stern in court.
Yes.
Joke around, which is good. Judges got to be like that, and she's head of the judges union as well. But it's an interesting courtroom to be in.
Absolutely.
So what advice do you wish you had when you started as an immigration attorney?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would say, really what I think I failed to do in the beginning was really try and think of my clients as this is going to sound strange or probably callous, but don't think of your client as just a client. This is a person that has a story to share. And attorneys sometimes get a bad rap that they don't spend enough time to talk to clients, or they're always just like, oh, talk to the legal assistant or talk to the paralegal. Promise me, if you spend just a little bit of time talking to your client, just as if they were a normal person asking you for advice, it creates such a good rapport. And I think that is one thing. Like, don't see them just as clients. Of course they are. You're going to do your best advocacy work, but really treat it as maybe a friendship. I don't know if that's the right. But I think for me, when I started, I felt like I had to have this serious persona and this image about professionalism. And so maybe I came off a little bit stiff. But now that I'm just myself and I talk to the clients, I ask them about their life, not necessarily related to immigration. And it makes it so much easier for them to open up to you and talk to you about the things that will help them in their case. And I think that's what I wish I would have known before. Just be yourself. Don't feel like the need that you have to personify this professional lawyer. Just be yourself. Everything else will fall into place after that.
That's a really important point because there's mixed beliefs. I have a really close relationship with all my clients, so I've always liked it like that. But the prevailing thing, especially older attorneys who've been doing it for a while, is keep this distant relationship. It's a respect thing, and don't get too involved with clients and stuff like that. I don't know if it's like a new thing we're dealing with, or maybe if you're doing a lot of volume, it's hard to connect with individuals. I don't know what it is. But some people would say, like, definitely don't give them your cell phone. Don't answer your questions at a certain time. Don't answer on the weekends unless you really, really have to, just to keep your life separate. And I've never had to have that issue, but I can understand, depending on I pick and choose. My clients are really picky, so it's easier for me to like, oh, okay, I like this person, I can deal with it. But yeah, that personal relationship, you catch a lot of information when you just know the people better. Because people hold back, and you kind of have to talk with them to get the facts that you need. And you're always surprised, like, it's like, because the clients never know what you need, so they sometimes don't think it's even important. You have to it's like pulling teeth sometimes, and you really got to talk with them to get the information out.
Oh, absolutely. I 100% agree. And I think, yeah, like you said, a lot of us struggle with that, but I think you just have to find your level of comfort, right? And like I said, I'm a clumsy I like to laugh. And so I want to have that relationship with my clients.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So what is one of your favorite ways of marketing, getting clients, stuff like that?
So I would say, I thought about this question, and it would be just providing excellent service to my current clients. Your clients are the best advertisement and marketing that you're going to find anywhere, right? I would say almost 10 out of 10 times that a client is referred to my office by another client, they sign, because they already trust you. They've already heard about you. So just do good work, and the client referrals will come. In terms of other more traditional marketing, I really do enjoy, putting information out there, like putting out educational videos or writing, a quick blurb on something that just came out. I think that that's also a really kind of empowering tool for others, right? Because they can see that you know what you're talking about, and that you really just want to help. Lawyers get this bad rap where we just money grubbing, cold people who don't talk to our clients. And so, and I learned this, from you, John, right? Is just put the information out there, be personable, so that people can kind of connect with you before they even meet you.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. So the one last question, what outside hobbies do you have? You talked about exercising. What kind of exercising do you do?
So now that we don't go to the gym, right, because of COVID-19, I've picked up jogging or running again. I don't run very fast, so I'm going to say I jog. So I like to be outdoors, and I like to lift weights. It's very smart. It's very good to get your bone density, and really for me, it's meditative, right? Because you put on music, whatever really kind of gets you pumped, and then you just push yourself to that uncomfortable place. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of the times I think about upcoming court cases, right? And I kind of get that rocky, feel where it's like, yeah, like you can do this. You're strong mentally, you're strong physically. So I really do enjoy that.
What other hobby do you have? Because I answered that one. I want to put you on the spot. Is there a second hobby or something like?
Yeah, I really love to read. Whenever I get a chance, you can find my nose in a book. There's this used bookstore that I used to go to before COVID, and I would go and trade books. And so I really enjoy that. And I mentioned earlier plants. I have like over 35 plants yeah. So it's just, things that kind of get my mind off of work, so I don't have to think about it constantly. And seeing something grow and the lush foliage, it's always, to me, it's very relaxing.
Two follows. First of all, what genre of books do you like to read, or is it all over the place?
It's all over the place. A book that I just finished now, it's called Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens, and it was this very compelling story that tugs at your insides. So the short answer to that is I like to read stories that make me feel something, but I've enjoyed immigration stories too. I read a book many of the people listening might know, but this author, she's originally from Mexico, Reina Grande. She wrote this book, The Distance Between Us, and that book that hit differently because it made me think about my parents and just my clients. So, and I really like Stephen King. I also read horrors. So it really runs the gamut, honestly.
Interesting. And the second thing I wanted to ask, I forgot what I was going to ask. The second topic you mentioned there, I want to dive in deeper in that one. After books, did you say something particular?
Plants.
Plants. Oh, yeah. So what kind of plants do you have?
I have succulents. I have pothos. Today I actually went to the nursery before on my lunch break, and I found this neon plant, and I always mess up the pronunciation. It's a neon philodendron. Oh, don't laugh at me, but it's this yellow neon plant that, you can hang, and it falls and the leaves are just beautiful. So I like all kinds of plants. I have a snake plant that I enjoy. Calathea plants, those are like purple and pink, and they're called prayer plants because they'll close at night, and then in the morning or in the daytime they open up.
Wonderful. I love plants. The only thing that happened is we had a couple of plants that were like, it's funny, I got them when I didn't have much money. It was like $100 to get one of them. And the old air conditioning in our apartment broke. It was leaking like water, and it killed it. And like it broke my like that it happened. And then when we moved too, a lot of them got like damaged in the move, and like they fell out of the dirt. And I'm like, this is, you start becoming like children. You don't want.
It's so true. It's so true. It's funny you say that. Yeah, I'm definitely a plant mom, and I don't know. I have a lot of plants, but I don't think that I'm that much of a green thumb, not just yet. So I'm actually reading a book right now. It's, I forget what it's called. It's The New Plant Parent, and it gives you tips. And really, did you know that the number one food for plants, it's not water, it's light.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And they're very sensitive, right? And coming into a new environment. And so, they really, each individual plant has its own personality, which I think is really cool, kind of figuring it out.
And just figure out how much water to give them is another thing. Not overwatering, underwatering.
Yes.
So, Claribel, if someone wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way to do that? And also any social media handles you have that they'll connect with you on?
Yeah, so I am always on my email, right? Email pops up on my phone or on my computer. So my email address is claribel@claribellaw.com, CLARIBEL @CLARIBELAW.com. There's only one L. It's a play, claribel@claribellaw.com. That's also my website, claribellaw.com. And our office phone number is 510-263-8552. I'm on TikTok, and I think my name is, I had to change it a couple of times, but I think it's CPM Immigration. And I'm also on Facebook. You can find me, Law Office of Claribel, P. Maduena. And I'm also on Twitter at CP Mad Law.
Posted in the show notes. And if there's people who are, those attorneys who are on the Facebook page for the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox, the private page, we just post some clips of the introduction removal defense. It was really good. Just some tips here from the 1-hour video I put there. I thought were interesting. But thanks again for everything you do, and look forward to doing more CLE type stuff and training in the future.
Thanks so much, John. Thanks for having me. It was really great talking to you.
Awesome. Stay on the line, but we'll say goodbye for now.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. For previous episodes and more, please visit the podcast page of our website, immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. You can also visit the Toolbox YouTube and LinkedIn pages to catch the video versions of these podcasts, news updates, and a lot more. Immigration lawyers can also contact me to join the private Facebook page. The email is info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com.